my sister, she was 16 years old. She escaped with her friend. I wanted to escape with her, but I couldn't because I have really bad stomach ache. My mother took me to the hospital, and in North Korea we don't have like x-rays or electricities or to figure out what's wrong with me. Just simply, doctor rubbed my belly and he said that I have appendix, that it has to be removed right away. So that afternoon, he removed my appendix without any painkiller. And then when they opened, it was just like malnutrition and infection that I was experiencing. In the hospital, we saw so many dead bodies just scrambled in the middle of the way to going to the bathroom. And my mother simply asked, to the nurse, why are you not taking those bodies? Because we could see where rats were eating humans. And humans are hungry, so we eat those rats back. And the nurse was saying that we just don't have gas to drive them away. And that's we knew that we gotta get out of there unless we are going to be one of those people who were eaten by rats. That was 2007, end of March. We found the people who wanted to send us to China. They helped us to cross the frozen river to China. Normally, they are like guards with a machine gun standing there every 10 meters and try to shoot people who cross it illegally. And the brokers that had a connection, and they safely sent us to China. As soon as we arrived in China, my mother and myself, the first thing was my mother being raped by the broker in China. And they told us, because of the one-child policy that China had, there are not enough women in China, and they need these North Korean women as bribes, and they sell us like animals to Chinese men. We are sold to brothels, we are sold to men with mental illness, anywhere that anybody who has money to buy us. And I was 13 at the time. They told me that I had to be separated from my mother. I had to be also sold as a bribe. And that's how my mother and I both been human trafficked in China. After being bought by a man, which was another broker, who supposedly finding me a husband who was going to buy me, he told me that he wanted me to become his mistress. And I was 13. I wanted to kill myself. I couldn't take it. And when I was trying to kill myself, he told me that if I become his mistress, he would bring my mother and bring my father to me. So I did become his mistress, and he bought my mother from a farmer who bought my mom, and he brought my sick father from North Korea. After there being in China for 2 years, he somehow letting me go with my mother. But during that time, my father already passed away from his colon cancer he caught in the prison camp. And that was after Beijing Olympic in 2008. My mother and I found the missionaries in South Korea in China from South Korea. They were helping us to go to South Korea where we could become safe. And they told us, if we believe in God, if we believe in Christianity, they were going to help us. So we had to study Bible. We had to become believers. And they told us to going to South Korea, we had to basically walk across the Gobi Desert from China to Mongolia. First, some miracle happens, then if we safely arrive in Mongolia, then we have to find the soldiers, and they will help us to South Korea. And that's what we did in 2009. In February, I think, it was minus 40 degrees in the desert in Mongolia. We walked across the Gobi Desert, just following a compass in our hand. And after we crossed many wire fences, we did arrive in Mongolia. We found the guards, and they helped us to reach South Korean consulate. And a few months later, they took us to South Korea from Mongolia. And from South Korea, I was there. And a few years ago, I started working as a human rights activist and moved to America.